innocent bystander. There's a knowledge problem. How does the government know who's an innocent bystander and who's a person who should bear the punishment or the consequences of his own personal mistakes? The government doesn't have that omniscience. Now, I'm sure that politics works here the same way as in the United States. People run for office, and what do they do when they run for office? They promise to do things to various special interest groups in the society with other people's money. Okay, they're going to tax one group to give benefits, favors, and privileges to others. Things that they want, but don't believe that they can earn through free exchange with their neighbors in the marketplace. That's the bottom line when you peel off all the layers. That's the essence of it. Okay? How does government know who the winners and the losers are? Who's innocent and who's guilty of it? There's no way. So what will happen is who will get the government money in the name of trying to help the innocent bystanders? Those who have the greatest political influence and pull with the politicians who have the capacity to distribute the money. That's happened in the United States. The ordinary middle class and low income American is being taxed. Who are they bailing out? The New York banks. Who in cahoots with the Federal Reserve got all caught up in this financial mess. Some of those guys made bad decisions. Goodbye. And unfortunately, some depositors are losing their money. But the point is, you want to know something? What they're bolstering and supporting are the people who collaborated with themselves, because they're the ones with the greatest influence and pull in Washington. There's this symbiosis where people on Wall Street end up with jobs in Washington because they're the experts about the financial markets. Who else is going to be in the regulatory agencies that the government runs, right? You need experts to regulate the industry. So you draw upon people who work in the industry. On the other hand, the people leave the government, and now you need employment. Well, where are you going to get a job? Well, you've been an expert on regulating the financial markets. Where do you get a job? In the financial market. You see, it's like a corrupting, interacting process. You see what I'm saying? And there's no escape from that. That's the pragmatic reality of politics. Okay? And as a result, I think in terms of the long-run good of the society, it's better to go through a terrible crisis in which there are innocent bystanders, some of whom couldn't be helped under any circumstance, okay, due to bad decisions and actions by others, and teach the society lesson that Uncle Sam or Johnny's parents are not going to bail them out. So we get the system back into working order, and people learn to bear the responsibility for their decisions and mistakes in the future, as opposed to expecting someone else there to clean up after themselves.
I have one last question.
One last question. Okay.
So, with all this being said, right, what should the government do? Should we even have a government at all? Worldwide?
Okay, if the government exists, in my opinion, I would say this as an economist in terms of what type of system works most efficiently, productively, while at the same time giving us, each individually, the greatest most of latitude or liberty to make our own decisions. And I'll even put on like a value judgment hat, my own philosophical views. So my economist view of what type of economic system works most efficiently or effectively, and now the different hat of my personal opinion about political philosophy, okay? I believe that at the end of the day, what the government should do, if it exists, is to be limited to the protection of our life, liberty, and honestly acquired property. And all other human relationships should be based upon peaceful and voluntary association and exchange. And that includes not just the narrow sense of exchanges in the marketplace. You sell apples and I buy them from you. But all the types of associations. Professional associations, charitable organizations, churches, who come together for shared values, which can often include good works for people who are part of their congregation or even outside of the congregation. I consider that a society that's likely to be healthier in terms of prosperity and improved opportunity, as well as more moral. I mean, everyone who's religious should, as a matter of principle, not want people to be converted at a point of a gun, right? Because if you say, yeah, I believe, because someone holds a gun to your head, he could be lying. Okay, that's happened in history too, where the king says, now you're all Catholics or Protestants, And now you are, because if you don't, we burn you at the stake. That's sort of an incentive to say what the king wants you to say. What you want is free choice. Men will act more morally when it's a conversion of their own free will. And that applies either to a religion or just a secular moral belief about what you think is right and wrong. Okay? All you do when you compel these things is to create hypocrisy. To believe one thing, but to say publicly or act a certain way publicly, because you're afraid of the negative consequences that the government might give you. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the College of The Bahamas, specifically the School of Business, we want to thank you for giving us such an insightful, powerful presentation. I know by this afternoon I have at least 2 or 3 students coming down to my office to change their major to economics.
Good job.
I also would like to thank Mr. Forsyth and Mrs. Thompson, for allowing you or giving the College of the Bahamas the opportunity to have people like yourself come in and make such presentation. We want to thank you, Ms. Thompson and Mr. Forsyth. Ms. Thompson would like to say something?
No, I'd just like to add, thank you all for coming. I hope you found it inspiring and put some new ideas maybe you didn't have. Although I never, ever underestimate the power of ideas in young people. It's my experience. They have them, but you put them into work. But Dr. Ebeling, we're very privileged to have Dr. Ebeling come. As the Institute, we feel like we're special, and we're happy to share with you whatever our limited resources are. Go to our website, look at there's a wealth of material. Mostly, we call ourselves libertarians. We're not a political organization whatsoever. We take no money from the government. All our work is voluntary, whatever. But go to our website. You might find some interesting stuff in there, or your essays, or it's a resource. It's not totally 100% Bahamian, but it is Bahamian inspired.